Hey, it's Sammy for another episode of the I Do Music podcast, and our goal and our mission is to empower and educate musicians and artists worldwide. And on today's episode, we're talking to manager and music exec Squeak, discussing learning discipline and responsibility from his upbringing, learning from the greats at noontime, and what it takes to be a successful manager. Hey, it's Sammy, and you're tuned in for another episode of the I Do Music podcast. And I am sitting down with manager and music exec William Squeak Watkins. Yeah, I had to give you your full name.
Good morning. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Good. Can't complain.
Good. Still working. He's multitasking right now. So you're currently the manager for artist, producer, drummer boy.
Correct.
Right? And before management, I know that you had a plethora of other things that you were doing within the music and entertainment industry, aside from management. So could you just give us like some insight on how it actually started for you?
Well, for me, it was, to be honest with you, I didn't know what I was going to do as far as, I love music. Music was my thing. I would spend 2 hours at least, hour and a half, 2 hours in a record store just buying records. Anything from Sarah Vaughan all the way to NWA. Mm-hmm. So music was always my passion, just as for relaxation and just enjoyment, because it was played in the house. Right. You know what I mean? Every single day I used to get up in the morning for school and have my music on, lay my clothes out, lay it on the bed with the shoes down on the floor to make it see what it's looking like in the mirror, listening to The Barge, Michael Jackson, Prince.
So did you grow up with musicians? Like, were your parents?
My parents were, it's funny, like my parents, I had an education with music from different ends on it. My father is 10 years older than my mother.
Okay.
So my father would give me all the Motown stuff, you know what I mean? And every time we playing, that's why two of my favorite male singers, well, 3 of my favorite male singers is Nat King Cole, Jackie Wilson, Sam Cooke, because I got all that from my father. Mm-hmm. My mother gave me all the Michael Jackson, the Jackson 5s, the Emotions, the OJs, everything from the late 60s and 70s, So I used to watch my parents, they dance. I had partying parents.
Really?
Yeah, so they would go out, they would ship us off to grandma on the weekends, and they would go out and the funny thing about it is as I got older, I used to go to go-go's.
Yeah, I was about to say, I always get the DC go-go's.
Right, so I used to be like, I'm going to go here and I'm going to go there. And my father was like, what you want to go over there for, man? There's going to be this and this and this and that. And I was like, man, you don't know what you're talking about. So he would bring out photo albums with him and my mom to go see Chuck in the 70s.
Oh, wow.
So, you know what I'm saying? And then, so stuff like that. So he was like, boy, I've been there and done that.
That's real DC.
I could tell you who owns the club and everything like that. So music was always played. Saturday mornings, mom would, she would have that, we had the old, back then we had the, your record player and radio player, it was a piece of furniture. So you would lift it up. It was furniture, but you would lift it up, and inside was a record player and the radio and the 8-track. So, we would get that all Saturday mornings and stuff like that, Soul Train. So, yeah.
So would you, you're from D.C.,
Correct.
Obviously, because we talked about go-go. It's
right.
like very distinct, a part of DC culture.
Right.
But how do you think, or how do you feel your upbringing kind of affected you moving forward as a business person? Because at this point you've become, we'll talk about you being an A&R and a music exec and working as a manager for different artists and producers. How do you think your upbringing kind of motivated you or pushed you to become this successful in the music industry?
Well, started from my parents, because they always, taught me discipline and everything, preparation for everything and stuff like that. Education was important in our household.
And did you go to school?
After high school?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I went to a junior college. I did a stint of football and that, and then, didn't do that. And then I went to engineering school.
Right. So you went to be a sound engineer, right?
Correct. But before then, when I went to school, out of high school, it's funny. I wanted to choose. I chose the career path for occupational therapy.
Really?
Yeah.
From like in high school, you were able to choose like a career path.
Yeah.
Okay.
See, what the high school I went to was it had a college right across the street from me.
Oh, okay.
So
you were on the path to occupational
yeah,
therapy.
you know, I was a secret nerd.
That's cool. That's fine.
You know, I would hook class, but at the same time, I would do my work. So
Okay. And so what made you veer away from that and then go to engineering school?
I did. It wasn't. You know, once I dove into it, I had a friend whose mom, she ran a company in D.C. right on 16th Street, where you work with mentally disabled and you know, mild retardation. And, you know, that's not the political correct word to say, but from 18 to 90. And then, you know, I worked with her on that, and I was just like, it's not really what I want to do.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's just like I just wanted my own company, but I didn't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I was trying to figure it out. Shoot, I'm 19 years old. Mm-hmm. So, you know, still trying to figure it out.
So do you think that school was significant in terms of like being an engineer, helping you engineer these records when you were starting off?
It gave you a platform, but that's not what helped me. What helped me was really was being at noontime and getting thrown in with the wolves.
Not the wolves.
Yeah.
So you made that transition to Atlanta. Why was that important for you to leave DC and come to Atlanta to work with Noontime and to, you know, start your career, I guess?
To be honest with you, it was life changing. It was I had to make a life change, and at that time in the 90s, you know, I was veering off to a whole nother path, and I was loving the streets. So I had, you know, I remember going to, I was making my trips to LA and everything like that. And I remember I was sitting with my partner, and he was telling me, my man Terry Ross from Noontime, he was telling me, he's like, man, you got to get out of DC, man. You don't want to be there. You know what I'm saying? You know, he just took me around to the music stuff. He's like, dude, you already, every time, you know, we talk to you, you know all the history of music. Like, won't you get into that? I'm like, He said, I'm telling you, man. So he took me around. This is probably about 96, 97. So he was just taking me around to different sessions and stuff like that and just showing me. And I was like, man, he was like, look, man, this is what you need to do, this and da. So I went back to DC and I found this school, the Mega Studios. It was a studio, but they turned it into a school.
Okay.
So I told him, I was like, yeah. He was just like, yeah. All right. I said, man, next time I call you, I'm going to finish. So the next time I called him, I was like, man, I finished. And he was like, what? I was like, yeah. He's like, you did? He's like, man, shit. So I would tell him different stuff, you know, about recording and stuff like that. He was like, man, you know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So, you know, and then he was like, man, shit, man, you know, you can help out, you know, down in Atlanta. So that's how all that came
Packed
up.
your stuff up and you just moved
Man,
on.
I was out.
Easily. So why do you think, I mean, beyond being an engineer early on, because that's what you did at Noontime, right?
Mm-hmm.
You were engineering records.
Mm-hmm.
So how did working as an engineer kind of help you transition into what you started to do in terms of like finding artists and?
Well, that's a good question. And start from the beginning on that. When I came to Noontime, I knew all the owners of Noontime.
And how did you meet them to begin with?
Well, Terry's a childhood friend.
I got you.
Well, really all of them are childhood friends. I just met Chris and Ryan later in life as in our late teens.
Gotcha.
I met them in our late teens. Terry I've been knowing, you know, they all brothers. And I knew Terry when we were much younger. And I met Chris and Ryan through Terry. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, and then Nuni as well. So they played a major role in where I am today. Mm-hmm. Terry got me in the game. Terry got me to Atlanta. And Chris and Ryan allow me to, and Nuni allowed me to be their shadows. You know what I mean? To sit there and you know, listen and see what's going on and stuff like that. And I remember one time Chris Hicks had a meeting with exec at Sony. Mm-hmm. And he asked me, you know, I was still engineering, and he asked me to play a couple of records off of the Pro Tools. So I did it, right? And then they start talking amongst themselves. And they forgot I was in there. And I moved the chair and it made a noise. And the exec was like, damn, he was so quiet, man. He could have killed us and we would have never known. But I was soaking game up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I was soaking all the game up from them, and then I was soaking up game from Ryan, because Ryan was messing around with had some dealings with Motown. And he had a artist, a group, ATL, male group, and then he had I had a young lady, a pop artist named Jenny. So I got to, do some engineering on that. I was messing up though.
What you mean you was messing up?
Oh, I was losing files and stuff like that.
Lord.
So, it was a learning experience. And then
But they gave you the opportunity to learn.
they gave me the opportunity to learn into all that. And then Nuni gave me my big break by letting me just be with him every day. Every day. And just for him to trust me to be like, okay, I'm gonna see what you're gonna do now. You know what I'm saying? And he had some major, he had Jazzy. Jazzy was popping at the time. He had Jim Crow. It was a lot of people over there. B. Cox, I learned a lot from B. Cox, Jazzy, Faye, Dent, Teddy, Alexandra, Jonte Austin. I learned a lot from him. Just sitting there watching him write and stuff like that. JQ. It was a lot of people in that building. There was so much coming in. And I'm gonna tell you what was crazy. When I first got there, Nuni's brother, Meezy, right? Mike Lee, he was always with Jazzy. You know what I'm saying? Making sure Jazzy was straight and everything like that, right? So he told me, he said, we went out one night, and he said, man, you gotta relax, man. You're not in DC no more. Because when I came here, I'm like, man, dudes walking around with jewelry and stuff like that, and no one, no one's messing with them. Like, he's like, nah, it's different. They from Oakland, so they get it. He's like, different. He said, look, man, build your relationships up. That's what he told me. He's like, man, build your relationships, man. And everything like that. No one wants to deal with the rah-rah. So that's what I did. I built with my relationships up. Because that studio has so many people coming in every day. Like, every day you never knew what was going to happen.
Right.
One day we're sitting in there, you bullshitting, and then about an hour later, LL pulls up. You know what I'm saying? And then Patti LaBelle.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So you had so much going on, you know what I mean? So I was learning a lot.
Yeah. So before Drummer, before you were, I guess you discovered Drummer Boy and started working with him, you were managing other artists, that's right?
Actually, I did, but before then, Nuni allowed me to be with him when he rebooted Jim Crow.
Okay.
So I got to see the whole process of going to how to develop the artists and everything like that, and how to deal with labels and how to deal, the budgets of everything inside the studio and everything like that. So by being with him, I was able to learn how to do the day-to-day management. And it was easy for me because I was already managing, before I got into the music industry.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I was managing something else, but but it was easy. So
it crossed over.
It crossed over. Right.
I feel you. But you then discovered, working with Nuni, you then discovered more of I guess your passion for what you could do in terms of management.
Correct.
And then you started working with Jody Breeze.
Right. And actually, Drummer first.
Drummer before Jody Breeze?
Yeah, Drummer first. Because Drummer was basically like a kid at the time. You know what I'm saying? He was like 16, 17 when I met him. And he's from Memphis, so he used to come up to the studio with his older brother in St. Wayne. His brother grew up with Jazzy Faye.
Gotcha.
So they used to come up there, right? And I used to, at the time I was managing the studio, Noontime Studio. So he used to come up there. I used to see him and everything. We used to talk and everything. And he saw something to me. I saw something to him. I was like, man, little younger, go hard. You know what I'm saying? I was like, man, I like your stuff, man. For me, I look at the potential.
Yeah.
I'm not looking for you to be the star right now. So I saw the potential in him, and the conversations was always good. So I got with him, signed him with management first. But he was still, figuring it out on his way of trying how to produce.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so fast forward, when you bring up Jody, Nuni and I went to Jonesboro. They had a fair down there. Mm-hmm. We went to go look at this R&B act. So we waiting for the R&B act, right, and everything like that. We didn't even see the act. We was sitting there, we was waiting for the R&B act. This kid come on there. His name was Rip. Man, he was rapping like, I said, man, this dude right here spit a verse like it's fucking 91.
Yeah.
Then he came with another one and another one and another one. I said, man, before he got off the stage, I met him at the stairs. I mean, what's up with you? He's like, oh man, he told me his name Rip and everything like that. I ain't tripping off the name. But anyway, I told him who I was. I said, man, I got Jazzy Faye's manager here. I want you to meet. So we introduced ourselves and everything like that. He got his number and everything. And we rolled out and everything. So we end up a week later, no, that weekend, the following weekend, we went down there to his mama's house. And we sat down and talked to his mom and his aunt. And they was just like, well, we don't know. You know, this is my son. I don't want nobody doing the wrong and everything. So end up doing the deal with him and everything. Was shown up with Jazzy, mm-hmm. Nuni, and Block. Mm-hmm. So end up moving Jody up to Atlanta. He
changed his name.
Changed his name. It was Rip. And then we was just like, man, we got to come up with something else, man. So we came up with Jody Breeze.
Yeah.
So what's funny about that is... not funny, but it was interesting because it shows when you put a team together, what you can do. Mm-hmm. Jody moved to Atlanta with me in September. By October, he had a deal with Warner Brothers.
Wow.
You know?
That's a quick turnaround.
But he had the album done. It was done. We had Little John. We had, who else was on? Little John produced, of course, Jazzy. We had Slim Thug on here. The dope thing was on there. Everybody that was on there wasn't a big known artist at the time. We had Carrie Hilson on there. She wasn't big yet. Slim Thug wasn't big yet. Killer Callion. What's that boy's name? We had Lil Jon and we had oh my goodness. We had quite a few people. I can't think of everybody's name. That was, you're talking about 04, 05, something like that.
Yeah, but I mean, this is kind of where you acquired your first A&R credit in terms of like discovering Jody Breeze and, you know, developing them into Boys in the Hood.
Right.
You were a part of that whole.
And see, Boys in the Hood, a lot of people, man, Block can tell you some good stuff about that too. Boys in the Hood, and I'm pretty sure, Boys in the Hood started off. Block had Tip in it. He had Trick Daddy.
It's just funny. I'm laughing because we talked to Zach as well.
Uh-huh.
And he's saying the exact same thing.
because Zach was a part. And I'm gonna tell you something about Zach. Zach, man, me and him, we good peoples and we joke around and everything. But at the same time, I learned a lot from Zach because he's a dope producer and writer. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, he's not getting the credit of how he changed. Man, he did some stuff with Dr. Dre that was so crazy it never came out. He told you that.
We didn't even get to talk about it. I discovered that. We didn't even get to talk about it.
For Sierra, he set her up with the goodies.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
We talked about that too. Yeah, so, he did a lot of crazy stuff. But he told the exact same story about Boys in the Hood and how Block wanted Tip and
Trick Daddy and Sean Paul from the Youngbloods.
Yeah,
it was going to be crazy. And you know, it things changed and it got to where it is then. So. Then started Boys in the Hood, and it was like, Block was like, man, well, shoot. Well, the plan was we had Sierra, Jody, Jeezy, Jazzy.
It was all under Shown Up.
Mm-hmm. And then Block was like, let me put Boys in the Hood together so we can get everybody popping before they do their solo. Mm-hmm. Sierra was going to do her thing, Jazzy was going to do his thing and everything like that. And I remember, I used to see Jeezy in the streets. So I used to see him in the clubs and do this and that and all that stuff before anyone knew about him rapping. And so when he was rapping, that's when he used to, one thing I could say about dude was working. You know what I'm saying? It was times he would come to the studio, he'd be the only one to come. You You know what I'm saying? So he wanted it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So he'd be the only one to show up. Boom, boom, come in there, do what you gotta do, out.
That's how you gotta be.
Yeah.
You gotta get to work done, right?
Yeah.
So you took we talked about you taking a certain liking to Drummer Boy when you first met him, and y'all having like kind of an immediate chemistry. What's the importance, or why is it essential to have like that chemistry with a potential client, taking them on as an artist in the management role?
Well, it's like any other relationship. You know, you got to know the person, and people feel sometimes you have to be the best of friends, and you got to you have to know the person. You got to know. My job is not only just to manage it; it's to push him to his limit. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? So I knew what dude can do because I studied him. You know, I knew his background. I knew he came from the orchestra. I knew he can read music. I knew he could do all these things. So what I did was I pushed him to go that. Now I just don't be like this side, man. But you know what I mean. But main thing, just you got to know someone before you work with someone.
Right.
That's like any relationship.
That's true.
You got to know what they're capable of doing and what they're not capable of doing.
Yeah.
You know?
What are some of the responsibilities you have to take on as a manager? I know you spoke about like pushing them to a certain their fullest potential and beyond that. But like, what are some of your like duties and roles as a manager? If I were your artist or your client, what should I expect from you?
Man, that right there is by artist. You know what I mean? So
by the situation.
you know, by some situation, like some artists, man, that's your child.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you're gonna have to do everything. But for me, it's about beating you to the punch. You know what I mean? Like certain things, and I learned that from Nuni. And what I learned from him was like what he did was like with Jim Crow. He knew they're gonna go to the club, you're gonna get drunk, you gonna have excuse. So what he would do was beat him to the punch. All right, go to the club, do what you want to do. We got an 8 o'clock flight, so I got you a hotel at the airport.
That's true.
So all you got to do is get in. So, you know, learning different stuff, getting keys to their room and stuff like that. So staying 10 steps ahead.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's
so,
true.
You know, stuff like that. So
do you feel your success as a manager comes from the relationships you've built over the years, like the people that you've met? I mean, you kind of spoke about it earlier, but just a little bit more in detail of how those relationships really nourished you as a successful exec and a manager.
The relationships is very important. I wouldn't be sitting here with you without the relationship with Curtis.
Right. That's true. That's true. Shout out to Curtis.
So relationships is very important, and I cherish those relationships. You know what I'm saying? So I nurture those relationships. You know what I mean? So they're very, very important to me. I mean, you know, a great relationship can put you in situations where money can't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think a lot of people, they don't, especially today, they don't understand that. Mm-hmm. You know, it's this me mentality and egos and stuff like that. And it's, you know, a relationship is a phone call away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I would say, you know, it was one of the top things outside of my work ethic.
So
outside of my work ethic, that's the top thing.
What is that brings me to my next question, actually. Like, in terms of, you know, there are plenty of people that call themselves managers, or plenty of people that say they can do a certain task for an artist. What urges people, or what is it about your skills and your work ethic that people come to you versus somebody else? What do you think? It's okay.
I'm very disciplined.
Okay.
All right. I train my mind every day to learn and be disciplined.
Yeah, you sat down and was like, I had to write this stuff down. I don't even know what you're writing down. Right. That kind of showed me something, like you had already had in your mind you had to do this.
Right. So it's like, you know, and I do certain things in life to keep that going. Like it may be a little off for some people. Like with me, if I like I said, I train my mind. Like I do stuff, like I'm right-handed, but I can do stuff with my left hand. But I train myself to do stuff with my left hand. And you know what I'm saying? So just that's part of my discipline, a way to try to use another part of my brain that I'm not using. Mm-hmm. like I'm, disciplined as far as working out. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to get up saying, year after year after year. You know what I'm saying? So it's like just being disciplined with my day-to-day life makes me disciplined with this side.
Other people's day-to-day lives, right? So are business skills in the music industry kind of innate for you, do you think? Or is it something that you've learned? Were there natural things
It's natural. It's more natural for me. Like I said, coming from another lifestyle, it was natural. You know what I mean? So it's like, and it does. You don't have to come from that for it to be natural. And let me say that
That's
first.
just your personal situation.
Yeah, my personal situation. It became natural. It was natural for me. I could. When I was growing up, I can go anywhere in my city because I had relationships with people. You know what I'm saying? I knew how to deal with people. You know what I mean? I didn't sit in one spot. You know what I mean? And so it was natural for me to, to jump in it. Once I, learned, the rules over here. Mm-hmm. Okay, all right, cool. It's natural. Let's go.
So when you talk about like having those relationships, I also feel like as a manager, you're dealing with a lot of people just in general. Like say drummer has a meet and greet or something, you might be dealing with the store manager or something like that. What in terms of what other skills like do you feel like you have to be personable, relatable, to connect with all the different people that you work with on a day-to-day?
Certain situations, every situation is different. Like say if drummer's doing a meet and greet or something like that, I just step back.
True.
Once I set everything up, I step back. I've never been, the one who has to be the face or, got to talk and do a whole lot of talking and yeah. This is my artist. This is my, no. I don't do nothing like that. Once it's set up, boom, step back and let them do what they do.
Gotcha. So what's something that you know now that you wish you knew then?
In the beginning of this?
What's something you know now that you wish you knew then? Like for somebody who's listening, who's just starting out, could get some advice from that.
What would I know? What do I know now? See, my situation is a whole lot different because how I came in. I came in with some teachers.
True. Yeah,
you know what I mean? I came in with some dudes I can ask some questions. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But so the mistakes I made were minimum. I didn't, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't like huge, like oh my goodness, so I was able to ask questions, or if they see me, they was like, maybe you should do a little like this and then, like that. You know what I mean? So like, the good thing about I had good teachers. Let me explain something to you. I had good teachers as far as teaching me something like I knew which one I can go to for different questions.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And like Chris Hicks, he's a great teacher because he's the kind of teacher that, like how I was taught coming up, I'm gonna give you a little bit of information, but you got to go seek the rest of it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that makes you go seek it so you'll know it. Like because you're not gonna remember. I'm not gonna give you everything.
Yeah.
Okay? Give you a little bit and then go get the rest.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to say, like probably the best thing I can say, I should have jumped in the game a little longer. If I didn't know, that's what it is. If I'd have known what I know now, I'd have jumped in the game right in high school.
Just straight out of order.
Straight.
That's what's up. But I mean, you were still afforded the opportunity to learn and have that window of time where you were learning.
Correct.
Yeah. So for managers listening or people who are interested in managing artists, I think a big question is, how do you determine your percentages with the client, like what they're getting versus what you're earning for the work that you're doing, right?
Yeah, but that's something that you got to negotiate.
True. I mean, like, how do you determine your value, or for you personally, how are you determining your value?
What can you give this artist?
True.
You know what I mean? That's how you can determine your value. What do you have to offer? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Just the title manager. That's all. That's it. You know what I mean? So how far can you take this artist? Sometimes you might have to partner up with someone else, which is nothing wrong with it. People have to understand, and I debate with people about this all the time. 5% of something is better than 100% of nothing.
That's true.
You know what I mean? So, so many people get caught up in titles and how much percentage they got. Man, I got 100%. I own all this. Well, dude, who knows you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? At the end of the day, who knows you? I'll take 5% of 100 million.
I would too. I would too. That's real. So when did you decide? Because we talked a little bit about how you moved from being an engineer to, and you have some A&R credit there, like discovering artists and working on that side, and then ultimately becoming a manager, and that's what you do on your day to day. When did you realize you were in the right space in music? Because there were so many like different components. Like you could have been absolutely anything. You were around songwriters, producers, and all these things. Like
I was better at that than other
else.
stuff. Yeah. So
like,
what I did too
know
was,
what you're good at, huh?
yeah, you got to know what you're good at. Me, I've always told myself, and I tell my daughter the same thing, and I tell people, be honest with yourself. You know what I mean? When I played football, right? I love football. I love boxing. Did both sports. I loved it, loved it, loved it. When I was little, I'm going to the NFL. I'm going to play for the Redskins. Wow. All right? I'm going to do that. When I got in high school, I played, I always played football from Pop Warner to high school, same position, tailback. I had the big ego. You know what I mean? I'm going to talk trash to you. I'm going to let you know I'm going to get the ball. I'm going to run it. I'm going to run it through the 6-hole. I'm going to run it through the 4-hole. And you're not going to stop me. But it came a time when I'm my senior year, I'm like, shit. Man, I'm 5'4", 125 pounds. I'm not going to make it. So it's being honest with yourself. You know what I'm saying? Boxing, I knew I wasn't going to put in the work. So it's being honest with yourself. So I always was like, okay, you know what? I'm doing better on this side than that side.
That's
you know
true.
what I mean?
So how do you compete, if you do compete, with the ever-changing business? Like, things change on a day-to-day, and you've been in the industry for a very long time in terms of, like, the way we listen to music, the way we, have to do certain paperwork and all sorts of things. How do you continue to just stay abreast of what's going on?
Well, keeping up with technology is one thing. It's the main thing for real, really, to be honest with you. You stay true to this side of it. Music is music. You know what I'm saying? You're going to write the song the same way, produce it the same way, and all that's the same. What changes everything was the technology. So as long as I keep up with the technology, one thing I never did was like, okay, you're doing it this, they doing it this way, I'm going to do it this way. Nah, for what? I mean, it worked for you, cool, good. You know what I mean? So we're in here for the long haul.
So after many years of working in the industry, what motivates you to keep working?
The love of it. You know what I'm saying? Just the love of hearing dope artists and see the thing about it, the lost art of the music industry now to me is the development of artists.
Yeah.
Where I got to see development.
I agree.
Where I got to see these dudes develop an artist and take them from here to there. Sierra, watching her develop from the 16-year-old girl to where she is, where she was when she got to Goodies, that album, and further on to watch Jonte, watch drummer develop. When I first got into it, the development was we had media development.
What do you mean?
Learning how to talk to media.
Oh yeah.
You know
media
what I'm saying?
Training, yeah.
Yeah. So you had development on that. You had, we was going to Divine Stevens for the artists, choreography and stuff like that. We had at the time we had several different stylists. I remember we had Tamika styling and stuff, and just watching her. Like I would watch everyone's job. And that was my thing. And I got that from football. Because when I played running back, I knew everybody's job on the play. You know what I'm saying? And that's how I always did that. So I know what everyone is doing. So in here, I was watching everybody's job, what you do. Not to say I'm going to try to do what you do, but I need to understand what you're doing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Do
so I can, not only that, so I can respect what you're doing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you're a stylist. Oh, you're the... No, that's serious. You know what I'm saying? That's a game changer because you can come out on the red carpet or in the video and look like a clown.
Yeah, everybody, especially today, is gonna clown you.
Yeah.
Right. So, what do you think inspires you, aside from the passion that you have for music? Because obviously, you seem like a very passionate person in general, just talking to you today. But what inspires you to do this? What is your inspiration? What makes you like, okay, every day when I wake up, this is what I'm gonna do because I'm inspired.
Well, like I said, the love of it is nothing monetary for me for it. You know what I mean? So it's strictly I love to hear good music.
Mm-hmm.
I love the challenge. You know what I'm saying? It's a challenge every day because someone's always saying, "Well, this can't be done. This can." Man, records. Man, they're not selling records no more. Shoot, I'm seeing them selling. It's just selling another way.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? A lot of people want the easy way out. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I always look for a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So it's everything is a challenge. You know, not yeah, it is. Yeah, I always challenge myself, and that's it comes from my upbringing. You know what I'm saying? My father used to always be like, "Man, challenge yourself, man."
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I remember one time when I got in school. I used to be a fool in school. In elementary, oh my God, I was a fool.
You
I
was a
can't,
clown.
man, I wasn't a class clown.
Okay.
I was very mischievous.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I used to change the grades in the teacher's grade book.
Oh,
You know
you're
what I'm
that
saying? I
kid.
was that kid. And then I was a kid with older brothers and older cousins that used to take me to, this is why my passion for music. My older brother, he's 7 years older than me, and my cousins, they're 10 and 12 years older than me. They used to take me to see Parliament. My father took me to see James Brown. He was on a date. So I was on a date with my father, with his girlfriend, and to see James Brown.
That's dope.
So
Though.
I got to see the mothership. I mean, you talking about 7, 8 years old. You know what I'm saying? And these guys are smoking reefer and everything. I never indulged in anything like that, but just to watch these dudes do, I was going to see Rick James. My father was taking me to see Richard Pryor. I knew who Richard Pryor was, knew all the jokes word for word. Red Fox. So I'd be in class telling jokes. You
Like
know
they
what
were
I'm saying?
doing.
I was telling Richard Pryor jokes and stuff like that, man. And teacher used to, man, I think she knew my number by heart. And she used to tell my father that she was standing behind me when I was telling jokes. But anyway, to get to what I was saying, I remember bringing home a paper and I got a B on it. I was like, oh man, I can't wait to show Pops, man. Boom, I got a B. He was like, and? Why you didn't get an A? I was like, man, what are you talking about? That's a B. He was like, and it's not an A.
True.
He's like, why would you want to get a B? He was like, why wouldn't you want to get something perfect? You know what I'm saying? So
That's real.
it was always challenging. So
there's a lot of pressure being, especially today, being like an artist or a producer with like such a microwave society. We want so many things like back to back. You got people dropping back to back albums, things like that, and it's pressure to deliver that hit after hit. Um, but do you feel the pressures as like being behind the scenes? Do you feel the pressures of the music industry today?
well, you had the pressure because, I mean, I'm in charge of, someone like myself, you're in charge of someone's career. And at the same time, you're in charge of some money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the pressure there, I know how to take pressure and put it to something else.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So, like, I don't get too worked up and worried. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not looking at somebody else and be like, oh, I got to do what they doing. Oh, man, we got to hurry up. We got to do this. We got to do this. And let's keep doing what we're doing organically, and we're going to do it. It's a reason why Drummer has been on the radio for 10 years straight. It's a reason why. It's not because he's caught up in this and trying to run around here and be where everybody else is at. He sits down, takes his time. You know what I mean? So I always say, like, take your time, man. You ain't got to rush to go over there. You ain't got to do what they do. Do you. You know what I mean? That's a lot of things people are not doing. People don't want to be who they are. When you think about artists before us, before we got in the game, they was true to themselves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now everyone, like you said, is microwave and, oh, I got to use the same producers as they did, and I got to use the same as they did. Okay, that sound right there, we want that same sound. You know what I mean? You don't have a mixture. Like, be true to you.
That's true. What other things do you work on aside from your day to day, or well, you really never gave me what's your day to day. I'm sure it changes, but what's like for you? You say you obviously work out in the morning.
Correct.
What else? What is like a day to day for the life of Squeak?
Well, I get up, do my meditation, and once I do my meditation, I have a book that I read, several different ones. I, read a line through that and everything like that. I always check out the current events before I go to the gym. And go to the gym, get my daughter ready for school. Well, if I'm there, if I'm not there, I get her ready for school by FaceTime.
Oh.
And until she gets on the bus. And then once she's on the bus, that's when I start, what I do too is during that time I send out emails. And I send out emails during that time, 6, 7 in the morning. So by the time the people get into their office, they see it. I already know if I send it to you by the time you get it, you got so much stuff coming at you, they're not going to see it.
Mm-hmm.
So I do, stuff like that, make sure everything's lined up, what has to be done for the day, the emails, reading them, sending them out, schedule, then taking care of the business part from that time until about, 11 or noon sometime. But, you never know. Every day is something different.
Right.
One thing I do, I don't care if I go out of town. Drummer laughs. Drummer used to laugh at me, so he used to it now. I used to always travel with 2 bags. I got my regular stuff and I got my workout stuff. So no matter what, and that's the discipline in me. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? To continue. So I know I can sit down with a pen and pad afterwards or before and write down what I need to do, what has to be done, what ideas. You know what I mean? If I'm driving, I record my idea. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And stuff like that. During that time in the mornings, I have 2 quiet times. That's the morning and night. Mm-hmm. I'm in the bed usually about it might have some late ones, but usually I'm later, like 2:30. But I'm up by 5:30. You know what I'm saying? So those are my quiet times where I can listen to music. Mm-hmm. So usually around 11:30, I start listening to my music and then start watching my YouTube stuff.
YouTube stuff. What's on
Boxing and stuff like that. You got to have an outlet. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You got to have an outlet away from this. I love old boxing.
Really?
Yeah, I love old boxing. I can watch that all night.
That's dope. So I guess another question, because you mentioned your daughter twice, and that you are spending time with her each day, or you try to make time for each day. How hard is it to balance your family with a job like this, like having to, be around and probably travel, I'm sure?
You do what you want to do.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? If you want to put time into it, you're going to put your time into it. All this extra explanations dudes be trying to put in, and it's BS. Like, I go places and travel and go places for work. If I know, you out of school on Friday, fly her in. So you spending that time with me. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? She looks at drum like, Uncle Drum or whatever, because she knows the music business. Since she was able to walk and talk, I brought her to the lawyer's office, the attorney's office. I brought her here to Patchwerk, to different, in the right hours and times, of course. And I bring her around so she knows what's up. But at the same time, if I'm traveling, I see she has out of school that day, I bring her in, stuff like that. So, man, I got a calendar. Boom, okay, you got a recital. You know what? No matter what, I'm there. Stop, I'm there. You know what I mean? So, you do what you want to do, man. That's so true. When dudes put up them excuses about that, man, and try to blame this and blame that, oh, man, I'm working, man, dude, whatever. You know what I'm saying?
You don't make it happen.
You got a lot of stuff get done on this.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
That's very true. And speaking to your daughter, how has having a daughter versus like having a son, I guess, operate how you maneuver throughout the music industry?
That's a good question. My daughter has opened my eyes to a lot of different things. I'm more sensitive towards women than I used to be. Not that I never was, but I always, find things that she can look at, especially with women that look like her, in a positive manner. By having a daughter, I wouldn't put out anything negative on a woman with my name on it. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I wouldn't do it, even if I didn't have a daughter, but I wouldn't do it that way because she, like Princess Tiana came out. Mm-hmm. I made sure she went to go see that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I made sure you're going to go see this. And I'm going to make sure your room is decorated Princess Tiana. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So I let her, I introduce her to Sade. You know what I'm saying? I introduce her to, Anita Baker. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. So, different artists like that. And I am preparing her for this business. You know what I mean? I mean, she can do whatever she want to do, but I am preparing her for this business. You know what I mean? She's definitely a big motivator for me. You know what I'm saying? To do, things in a positive way for her, and everything. And I introduce her to a lot of women that are, not a lot of women, but women that are doing things. Right. Women attorneys, women executives, and women accountants. So she can see the difference of them. So so I made sure she did that. I actually like for her to see that, you know what I'm saying? Especially the women that look like her.
Right. Absolutely. So you talked a lot about your upbringing earlier as mm-hmm. well. What are a few things, or maybe one or two things that as a child your parents used to ride you about, but now as a father you can appreciate?
My responsibilities and choosing the friends. Mm-hmm. My father used to be like, man, why you hang around them, man? Why you do that? What did they do, man? When you get a friend, man, when you meet someone, man, ask them what did they do? What do they want to do in life? Man, leave me alone about this stuff, man. Man, you know what I'm saying? Why y'all hang together? What you got in common? I'm like, man, we having fun. Right. Leave me alone. But that's the same thing I do to my daughter now. Because you need to know, you got to have like minds. You know what I'm saying? And it's very easy to get distracted. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? From it. And then, the responsibility for it. My father he didn't want to hear no excuse. Oh, I forgot. The hell you mean you forgot? I was like, man, you act like no one can forget. I wouldn't say that to him, but I would think that. You act like no one can forget. And he would hold me accountable for every single thing. I mean, like when I was growing up, I never got a toy from my father. He didn't believe in that. This is the stuff he would give me in first grade, first grade. Dudes had G.I. Joes and all that. Nah, I ain't get none of that. My father was giving you a bike, little dirt bike, pinball machine, remote control cars, remote control airplanes, and you better take care of it. You know what I mean? So he was always treating me like a man. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So, so those are the things that I do for my daughter. And in return, at 10, she's very responsible and she's very organized. You know what I'm saying?
Not many 10-year-olds that are very responsible and very organized, I'll tell you that.
We just at 10. We just at 10. We still got a long way to go. I'm counting my blessings right now.
That's good. It's amazing. So we talked a little bit about your credits, mm-hmm. and I mean, I guess in 2017, you don't really see much of like the albums where you can see people's credits. But what for you, why is it important for you to give people their proper credits?
I want to see people grow. I want to see people expand what they do. It takes a team to get anything done. And if someone says to me, "Oh man, Squeak, you did a great job. You did it," I gotta tell people how it was done. Right. Who did what? I don't care if you was the guy that was making sure the room was clean. But, you know what I'm saying? Or whatever, from the smallest to the most. You know what I'm saying? You can't do it by yourself. And there's nothing more enjoyable. See, I come from where dudes could do on their own. Like when we going on a trip, or we going here, we going there. Everybody have their own. Everyone can, and I enjoy seeing someone do that. For me to do that, I'm supposed to uplift this person.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm supposed to, male or female. That don't matter to me. You know what I mean? So it's very important to inspire and help other people rise.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Well, for one, you seem to be a very respectable gentleman, and you seem to show your respect and expect that respect back. And we know you wouldn't be here if you didn't quite respect Patchwerk. So what is it? What is it that you respect about Patchwerk, this studio, this place?
Well, I have to. Well, it's always a class act. It's always a class act. I have to thank Curtis and Patchwerk for everything. That they had a big involvement of my career as well. I started here. I never forget. I'm gonna tell you something. I never forget when I first came to Atlanta. Patchwerk was at another location. I can't remember the name of the location. Terry took me over there, and then when they came here, this room wasn't done. And Curtis I didn't do anything. I was just learning the industry, right? You know, I didn't have a name, but he would talk to me like I was no different than anyone else. And I remember him bringing me to the back and telling me how they was going to do this area, this whole back area. And he was like, we're going to have this, we're going to have this, we're going to have this, and this, and this, and this, and this. And so I remember when I came back, it was done. But he always talked to me like I was no different than the guys that I worked with,
Right.
or worked for. You know what I'm saying? And every time we would come in, it was always class act coming in. From when you walked in to that front desk till you came to the back. You know what I mean? It's always the place to be like. I remember when we used to be like, we got a session at Patchwerk. Oh, cool, shit. You wanted to go there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it was cool, and it was like, and the way it was ran, it was like ran like a family. It was ran like a family because you was greeted at the door, you was greeted at the back, you was in your sessions, or when you walk in the hallway or anything like that, you knew who, everyone was dealing with each other in a respectful form, and everything like that. So Patchwerk will always go well and beyond what a lot of other places, studios would do.
It's true.
You know what I mean?
I
So
agree.
it's like anything come up, I would get a call. Hey, I got some information. Would you want to do this? Da, 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 da. You know what I mean? And the way Patchwerk continues to teach and inspire up and coming artists, producers, engineers. You know what I mean? Most engineers I know in the city started here. You know what I mean? And we still have, I got a almost 20-year relationship with Patchwerk.
Wow. It's amazing.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's 20 years.
It's the beginning almost.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what's up. Well, we appreciate you.
I appreciate you all.
Yeah, we appreciate you, and it just kind of speaks to the developing those relationships and continue to nourish those relationships. So I'm happy I was able to meet you and sit down, and we'll further ours in the
Thank
future.
you. Thank you.
Are you on social media? And if so, where can they find you?
And I do a little bit of social media. I'm not the big hype social media. Yeah, I'm on Instagram. It's Mr. Squeak, Squeak. And
Before we leave, where did Squeak come from? Because I did
Squeak
not
came
ask
from
you that.
Okay, cool. I'm glad you asked that.
Yes, where did that come
Keeps
from?
me talking a little bit more. Get comfortable. Well, when I was born, I was named after my uncle, my father's brother, William. So my nickname came from my cousin the day I was born.
Really?
So Squeak was a family name. So in my family, like I said, we would always have cousins over, my older brother and everything like that. We was the house, you know what I'm saying? 'Cause My brothers and them, they was wild. They was wild. So the popular spot, you know what I'm saying? My father was always had the fly Cadillac, and my mom and everything like that. So anyway, my family called me Squeak. So when the dudes outside would hear Squeak, they want to call me Squeak. You know what I'm saying? So they was calling me Squeak. And it took off from there, from elementary to the part where teachers was calling me Squeak. Because
Really?
everyone was calling me Squeak. Everyone was calling me Squeak. So I went to my family reunion about 2 years ago. And my father's, she's my second cousin, so it's my father's first cousin. She came up to me, they much older now, they in their 70s. She was like, come here, baby. She was whispering in my ear. She's like, what's your name? I was like, Squeak. She's like, fool, I know that. She's like, what's your real name? I was like, William. She's like, I never knew that. And I held you in my arms when you was a baby. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I got
Been
it
the
from.
name.
Yeah. So it's stuck, so.
That's funny. So, Mr._Squeak.
Yep, on Instagram.
On Instagram.
Yep,
Cool.
and Facebook is it's funny. I got Squeaky Squeak on Facebook.
Squeaky Squeak.
No, if I use my real name, I use my real name. I use my government name in business.
Right.
As far as when we're doing business, but for other people, if you say William, people don't even know who it is.
Right.
They'd be like, all right, whatever.
Well, that's what's up. I'm happy we had the opportunity to talk to you and get you, sharing your knowledge. As always, thank you first. And as always, you can find me on social media at Sammy Approved. Yeah.
I appreciate
it. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It was fun.
Sonically superior.